Welcome to our second webinar from the best practice series of RIMA. Today we will speak about best practices on DIH Ecosystem Services. My name is Tom Runge. I'm from the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, and today I will be the host of the show. Today we have guests from SINTEF, Axel Transev, from DTI, Thomas Emil Krohmann, and from Sprint, Marit Sanderlin. Today, as mentioned before, we will speak about the ecosystem category. There are three categories of services we're providing in the DIHs, which is ecosystem, technology, and business. Last time, my colleague Thomas talked about business services. Today, we'll speak about the ecosystem services. Just to give like a very short overview to make sure what an ecosystem is, because it's a very fancy term which is often used. Ecosystem is basically like system of interconnecting and interactive parts. You can imagine like in a DIH, it's companies, finance, research, SMEs, startups, many different elements cooperating together. So to give you a small overview of the presentation of the content we're seeing today, there are four different categories. The first one is community building. We will have a best practice example by Axel Transev from SINTEF. Then there's strategy development, the second category, which will be presented as well as a best practice example by Thomas Krohmann from DTI. We have ecosystem learning. Today I will present the Create best practice. And the last category is representation and promoted, which will be presented by my colleague Marit Sanderlin from Sprint today. Okay, let's start off with the first category, community building. So community building is quite a key element in the DIH ecosystem, in my opinion. It's about bringing inspection and maintenance actors on one table. It's a very important thing when you start your DIH and you want to become a successful DIH. You need to know what kind of partners are in your network, what kind of companies, what kind of services do they provide, and they need to know you as well. So they need to know themselves in the ecosystem. What kind of opportunities for collaboration is there? What kind of services are available? Who can you call when you have like an interesting opportunity for collaboration? These are all facts you need to consider when you start community building. It's also about bringing people together with people from outside of your ecosystem. It's also a very important part of the community building service, and to create awareness for inspection and maintenance robotics outside of the network to attract potential customers for the companies and collaboration partners for research, for example. I have some very bold points here. The first how to is be loud, disseminate results, like be active on social media as well. Media articles or television, try to promote your DIH, try to be loud to encourage the community, basically, yeah. Be active and lead is also an important point, be active and try to organize something locally, like conferences and workshops are a good example to cooperate with people from your network and get to know them from the local environment, but also to invite people from outside and show them what is going on in your local DIH network. Get people talking is also a very important point, as I mentioned before. Bring them on one table and make sure everyone in your local ecosystem know each other and what they're doing, what they're capable of, and perhaps also what the long-term goals and visions of your companies and SMEs and startups are. And also, not to forget, provide information. It's also a very important part to let your local DIH partners know what is going on. Inspection and maintenance, what kind of interesting events are locally organized and so on. So, and to show you how this is implemented, we show a best practice example by SINTEF today, by Axel Transev. Axel, please go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. So I will be presenting how we set up RIMA. It's a Norwegian network on robotics and automation for inspection and maintenance. Back in 2016, we at SINTEF realized that there's a lot of push on inspection and maintenance robotics, and also within other areas. There's a lot of technology that's being developed that could be relevant for inspection and maintenance. So we wanted to kind of get a joint effort and to build a ecosystem around this, and to support Norwegian companies and organizations in capitalizing on these possibilities. So to that extent, we set up a national network. We focused on bringing on board end users, suppliers, and also some R&D organizations. Next, please. So I will be telling about how we initiated this, how we build it further, the network, and also how we're running it today. So in the initiation, there was a call for networks from the Norwegian Research Council. So we get, and we applied for this, so we get some base funding for running the network. In the beginning, we also had membership fees, which was part of making it something exclusive and attractive actually for the members. We defined some concrete goals in terms of bringing more projects up in the network regarding inspection and maintenance robotics. We had a web page with information about how you can join and why you should join. And we also made a cooperation agreement, a very short one, very easy one, but something to show connection to the network, and also to that the participants should make some commitments in terms of actually contributing to the network. And we started with attracting end users. So next, please. So after we attracted around 5 different end users, we had a base that was interesting for the suppliers. So then we started to attract the suppliers and also a few R&D organizations. And we saw that the organization of the first event, an innovation workshop, I will talk more about that later, that was kind of the trigger for really getting up the companies joining the network. So we organized an event, and that led to a lot of cooperation agreement being signed. Next, please. Now we're over in the phase of running the network. We do regular events to spark cooperation between the members. These are usually a yearly innovation workshop. We have a mailing list with information about events. We link the network to international and European events and organizations. For example, Sintef is a member of Sprint Robotics, which is a global organization, and then we can try to link the two activities there. Also EU Robotics, we try to give information about what's going on, and to get the companies connected to these international organizations. And also we facilitate cooperation with different kinds of trade organizations. Next, please. So a key to the network is the yearly innovation workshops. It's to initiate cooperation and to actually build new projects. So it's not a conference per se where you exchange a lot of information through presentations, but it's also hands-on collaborations within the workshop. We get together end users, suppliers, and R&D organizations, and we typically make these workshops such that end users present needs, suppliers present possibilities. We have a short pitch on funding opportunities, so basically how to help start projects. And then we do a hands-on session by linking problems and possibilities. Next, please. And in that, it's very important to be realistic, and we need to really dig into what is the actual problem. So one way of doing this, which we have done so far, is to gather one end user per domain we have, and then the suppliers and our R&D organizations can sit together with this end users, really digging into what is the concrete need, where is the biggest business case, and how can we actually start a collaboration regarding this. So that was it for the RIMA network. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Axel. I think that was an excellent example how to implement this service. not only on the implementation side, but it was also very interesting, I think, to see for the potential people who wants to improve their DIH in the service category financial-wise. So it can also make revenue in terms of, for example, fees. Axel mentioned was one example on how you can also make like financial revenue from this category, as well as to get an initial funding, for example, from the government to provide this service. So the next category is strategy development. What is strategy development? Strategy development is actually much about the market. It's about, you know, getting to know what the market needs, what are technology trends, for example, but also to create market awareness in terms of inspection, maintenance, robotics, for example. This category also includes technology and application mentoring, which we will see probably also in the presentation by Thomas Groban. And also to identify, like I mentioned before, you need to identify the inspection maintenance market needs and let them know what kind of robotic application solutions you have in your local network, but also how to develop them with your local DIH network partners. How to implement strategy development, or how to set it in your organization. Good idea actually is to organize workshops as well. Like you can see in many of these ecosystem service categories, you will see workshops is a good way to get people on one table and to implement the services. You need to organize workshops. Yeah, field experts is important to get the knowledge, actually the know-how, what is the status quo, what is going on, what are trends in inspection and maintenance technologies, or you can also do one-to-one follow-ups with companies. That's also a potential way to do it. Another important point here is to provide SMEs and other companies with market and technology insights. Let them know what is going on, what are potential trends. You need to be also like a keyword giver, perhaps. Perhaps they are looking, they have something, an application in mind, and they don't know the right technology, how to do the project, for example. You can help them out and provide them with insights, actually.
Thanks, Tom. I think maybe the video focus is on me now and not on Tom. So
Thomas, did you change it? Thomas? Is he still here? Is our director missing?
I think we lost him, but he's coming back now.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can stop for a second.
Sorry, I was offline.
Thomas, okay. Can you please put me in place? Thank you, Axel, for the comment.
So the video focuses on me now, Thomas. I think.
Thomas?
Yep.
Okay, you should be back.
Hopefully everyone who's watching the video right now, you can see me, or who's watching the live stream now. And another very important part of RIMA in general, in terms of strategy development, is in the figure here below. You need to support, or you can make profit. It's a very profitable and good practice to support inspection and maintenance companies during different development stages. Below here, you can see some core ideas we also have embedded in the RIMA project, in the RIMA network: application mentoring and technology mentoring. You know, some people need more mentoring. Some people have very good technology, but they don't know how to push this applications in terms of meeting the market goals. You know, what is the market needs? That's something you should know in this category. Or other people have a very good application in mind. They have potential customers, but they don't know exactly what kind of technology they should use. For example, what kind of sensors, for example, is used to get the robot running. Actually, these are potential service fields you could make revenue and can improve. Next category is ecosystem learning. I hope I am visible. Thomas, can you confirm?
Yes, as far as I can see, yes.
Okay, perfect. So ecosystem learning. Yeah, this is basically, if you say it in one sentence, it's about educating the local ecosystem. It's about increasing the knowledge in inspection maintenance within your DIH ecosystem. It's about telling the people, look, we have a workshop here. These are like the state of the art. These are ongoing trends. These are like technologies which are, or methods which are currently implemented and used. This knowledge could consist of, end user needs. Let them know what the end user, what are trends, what they actually need, what are upcoming technologies, for example. But also, it's a very important thing here about funding opportunities. I think that's the thing, at least DFKI is already doing. Like we have like a public funding, or there's like a European funding source, and we need potential partners for it. Would you like to collaborate or not? Just let them know when there are interesting opportunities, just like the RIMA program, where you can, by the way, when you're watching the video in time, you can still apply for funding. Yeah, ecosystem, like you probably already know, or like what you can imagine, can be matched and combined quite well with community building services. That means like having these workshops, bringing the people together on the table. It sounds quite repetitive because I think like in all these categories we mentioned workshops. But I think that's a very good format, to have people talking, have scientists there, but also entrepreneurs, and let them brainstorm together how they could improve the local ecosystem, how they could improve their services, and also the scientists, let them know what the trends are actually. Yeah, very important here. You also see it in the next slide, and the best practice example is to build a network of field experts. Actually, you want to have the knowledge there and spread the knowledge by workshops. Field trips, for example, is also quite good example. What we also carry out, like when you have like experiments going on where you test or demonstrate a new technology from a research project, for example, invite the local stakeholders and let them know, look, we have developed a new technology. Would that be something you could also use in potential commercial applications and so on? Get them talking, bring people together. It's also another important service is to inform your local DIH partners about it's a scientific aspect actually here. So inform them about conferences and seminars, inspection, maintenance, robotics. Is there a local nice scientific conference? Perhaps it could be interesting for them. I mean, it's not only companies in the DIH, it's also a lot of academic partners. So yeah, spread the knowledge in this service category. So for the best practice example here, we have the Italian DIH Create. Consorzio Create is an Italian DIH, like I mentioned before, which I would say has like a very academic focus. It's a combination of different universities. You see it here, like in the region of Napoli. And they are a good example because they have this academic focus, I would say, and also strong focus on education. They are a bunch of, they are like a collection, they are a consortium of research institute, and they are very active in the services of education and skill development. They're doing workshops about education, specifically in this RIMA domain of electricity, gas and water supply, which is the topic field of RIMA, and they are quite active in this domain and frequently doing brokerage events, networking events, this kind of stuff. They are like a very designated experts here. They have more than 35 years of experience in robotics, so they have been established quite a while ago and have a lot of competence in aerial, cognitive, cooperative, industrial, medical, service, and social robots, actually. Like I mentioned before, in the application fields, like in this water domain and so on, these RIMA fields, they are quite active. As you can see, they have a stunning 900 publications in this field. So they're designated experts, and they also have like a big cooperation with more than 150 institutions and corporations. So they are like quite active DIH in this service category. So you can see here, I want to mention the Prisma Lab. This is one of their laboratories there. They are providing a lot of courses here, for example, in field and service robotics, which is relevant. Like robot interaction and control could be also something very useful in the RIMA context. Robotics and industrial automation is also a very interesting field where they're providing ecosystem learning services, and also other courses like robotics foundations and robotics labs. Also, of course, they are providing in the Prisma course. All right, the next and already the last service category here is representation and promotion, and I'm very happy to have my colleague Marit Sandelin from Sprint Robotics here today. Hey, Marit.
Hey, Tom.
So, I just forget, I need to do the presentation before.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
I was a little bit too excited for your presentation. But yeah, representation, promotion, I think that's a quite clear category in my opinion. It's about promoting and advertising DIH ecosystem partners to stakeholders inside, but also very important, outside of the local ecosystem. Let people know there's a very interesting DIH, there's an ecosystem of experts, companies, SMEs, and also finance where you could do robotics projects. It's a very, as I mentioned here in this bullet point, it's a very essential activity actually for the sustainability of the DIH. To keep the DIH active and keep it alive, it's important to attract also new people to the DIH and companies as well. Get the interest. Like this is a very interesting region in Europe. They have a DIH. Go to them if you have a specific need, for example. Yeah, as I mentioned before, you can also attract new partners here and potential collaborators. If you're looking for European projects, for example, if you are seeking for collaboration and you're looking for international partners, it's important to keep this service category much alive, I would say. Like I mentioned here, and probably you will see a lot of this, like a very good best practice in Sprint Robotics is a good opportunities to have trade fairs, be active in workshops, conferences outside of the DIH network and ecosystem. I mentioned some conferences or trade fairs here, like the Automatica or the European Robotics Forum is also very excellent opportunity to promote and represent. By the way, the registration is up, so you can still register for this European Robotics Forum and participate there. Yeah, and when you are on these great events here on these conferences, it's important to share and discuss technical results. Let them know what the DIH is capable of, what kind of interesting applications are currently in the DIH, and how you can collaborate with it, or if there are potential products coming out of this DIH. Let them know. And another last point here I want to mention before I give the presentation to Marit is, to plan roadshows to showcase new inspection and maintenance technologies and services. Like go around. Like why not have an event in different European cities and invite people to let them know about the DIH and the capabilities of it. All right, now we have finally Marit with the Sprint presentation. Go ahead.
All right, thanks, Tom. So next slide, please. All right, so Sprint Robotics, we're a not-for-profit foundation, and our whole vision is then to facilitate the use of robotics in inspection and maintenance. And we are, as Axel was also saying for the SINTEF initiative, so we are end-user driven. So the idea is that end-user are the ones who are the final users, or then they will use the service providers to inspect and maintain their assets, and they are the ones who then should have the say in where the industry needs are. So next slide, please. So we have a lot of events that members who join Sprint Robotics will be able to access, and we have both internal events and then external events. So I will go through just a few of them to highlight the ones that I see that are most relevant. So if you change the slide, please. All right, so roadshows, as Tom was mentioning a little while ago. So these are something that we've done since 2018. So we take 10 to 15 technology companies, and with these companies, we travel within 1 or 2 weeks from different end user facilities. So we, for example, set up on a parking lot or then internal space of the facility, and then provide the people who are working within that facility a chance to, with their coffee breaks or lunch breaks, to come up and see what different companies are offering. So these we've received very good feedback on this, because we have people are talking face-to-face to each technology provider, but also the fact that you have people who are actually working doing inspections, doing maintenance, they have a chance to see what is happening in the technology side of things, because they usually don't have a chance to visit any of the conferences or seminars. So this is something that's been proven very nice. And these are for Sprint internal members only. Then the next slide. So in addition to these, we also do technology days or demonstration days, and these are usually open to everyone. So I think the last one we had in Dunkirk and Singapore in 2020, right, or 2019 actually, before the lockdown. So we had a few planned also for last year, but they didn't happen. So these are places then for any of the technology providers or service providers to showcase their technologies, and you have people coming into these who are outside of Sprint. So this is a way to then spread the word outside of the membership base. And also there's really good feedback on these, because people always, it's so different to see a slide set or see a video than to actually see a robot in action. Then the next slide, please. So this is just an example of what we did. So we also, while we were in Dunkirk at the Oleum site, we did human inspection versus a robotic inspection testing. So there we will write a report about this and then spread the word out. Next slide, please. And then on top of we have a lot of internal webinars, so where a company can come and just not a sales pitch, but demonstrate how they're using or how their robot is currently being used somewhere. And then on top of that, we also do a lot of public seminars that are then more for everybody, so not only the Sprint members. One of the examples was the seminar we had in September for cross-industry robotics in inspection and maintenance, where I believe we had 230 people joining the webinar or the seminar online, and similar things will keep on going. So the idea is just to spread the word of what is happening in industries and share information within the networks. Next slide. Then I think the main event for us is the World Conference. So this is 2 days of industry people and technology providers and service providers coming together and discussing, because the main thing is you can always spread the word, you can always share knowledge, but I think the majority of things happen when people come together and they discuss over drinks or dinners or during coffee breaks. So this is a chance to both see talks, but also then network with other companies. And this will be in Singapore, hopefully at the end of the year. And next slide. Yep, and also we have an internal community where people can ask and collaborate and share knowledge. And then next slide. I think this was the last one. Yes, so thank you.
Thanks so much, Laura. It was very interesting to see. I think yeah, now I can hear myself better. Sprint can be is like the ambassador a little bit of inspection and maintenance robotics in the world. So it was very impressive to see also this service category, how many different opportunities you actually have to promote and represent inspection and maintenance robotics worldwide. It was very nice to see all these impressive events you have pulled up, and also this roadshow could be an abstract term perhaps for people, and that was very nice to see. I think to concrete how a roadshow could look like, how it could be planned, and also to see some numbers in the slides. That 1,700 people attended these roadshow events. It was a very nice event, and I agree with Marit in general. Before I go to the summary, that these workshops in general and these small meetings, lunch breaks and so on, this is the events where you bring people together and discuss interesting ideas. So it's very important to bring people on a table. I think in general of all these ecosystem services, it's important to get people, technology providers and end users talking together. And also that's something you can see from Thomas' presentation. It's very important to identify the potentials in inspection and maintenance, Like for some companies, it's still a new technologies, AI, inspection, maintenance, robotics, and so on. Let them know what their chances are, how they could implement robots into their companies. That's a very important thing. Thank you, Marit. So before we end this seminar, or we go to the questions and answers sections, I want to show one comprehensive slide. It's shamelessly stolen by my good colleague Axel Transev. He showed it during one of our last RIMA meetings, but I think it gives a very good overview here for the people who are watching this video later now. You can see a very good comprehension here, like a good summary of the different things you can carry out in the 4 different categories here. And we have in RIMA about the community building, strategy development, the ecosystem learning, but also the representation and promotions. Also, feel free to contact us at the RIMA website or tom.runge@dfki.de in case you have questions about the presentation or you want to know how to improve your DIH in terms of the service category. Thanks you. Thomas, are there any questions in the chat?
Hi, thank you, Tom. No, so far I cannot see any questions. So please, if anybody has questions, go to the question and answer section and put up your questions. Look, Let's see, who's that? Yes, okay, so yeah, there's a question from Christoph to Marit. Did you make an analysis of the investments, the resources needed for the organizations of these events?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so yes, I think we did. For example, the World Conference runs on like a 0 budget. So we have to cover everything from the participant fees and also the exhibition fees. For the roadshows, we just created a budget for these at the beginning of the year and decided that this is the budget that will be used. And then based on that, we saw which were how many roadshows and which countries could be done. And also for the demonstration days and others, we have some budget always aligned for that because we know how important that is. So yes, we did, but not everything was always like very, very clearly defined, but just the need for a budget. So we try to do things as cheaply as we can always.
Okay. No other questions so far? So I guess, Tom, you are muted.
Now you can hear me again. Yeah, if there are no further questions, I would say we close this video, we close the webinar. Thank you everyone for joining. Special thanks to the external guests here, to the external speakers who gave excellent presentations. Yeah, and I hope to speak to you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay.